"You don't belong in this family," my father barked, his voice sharp enough to slice through the summer air inside our Dallas ranch house. His face was flushed, eyes narrowed with the kind of rage I'd spent my whole life trying to avoid. Then, without a pause, he tore the crisp white envelope in half. The job offer I had fought tooth and nail for. My hands shook, my throat burned, but I didn't cry. Crying would mean he'd won. Leaning casually against the marble island, my older brother, Chase, smirked like he'd been waiting for this exact moment. "She only got the offer because they felt sorry for her," he muttered. "Let's be honest." My mother stood at the sink, scrubbing the same plate over and over, pretending she heard nothing. My younger sister Morgan lounged at the table, tapping away on her phone, pretending I didn't exist. They didn't want me to succeed. They never thought I could. That morning, the HR director's voice had been warm and certain over the phone. "We've never seen someone ace every single round with this much skill and composure. Welcome aboard, Rachel. My name is Rachel Lawson. This job wasn't a favor, it was mine. I had earned it." The pieces of the offer fluttered to the floor like scraps of my future. "You think you're better than your brother?" Dad sneered. "Chase knows his place. You? Always chasing some fantasy career like a lost kid. We didn't raise you for this corporate nonsense." I'd put myself through UT Austin without a dime from them, worked double shifts, skipped rent some months just to cover tuition, graduated summa cum laude. But in this house, none of it mattered. "You're just a part-time receptionist with a useless degree," Chase added, grinning. Ugh, he wasn't wrong, at least not about the last 4 months. I'd been working temp jobs, sending out applications late into the night. No one here believed I'd land anything real. Until now, a 6-figure strategy role at one of the top firms in Texas. And now, it lay shredded at my feet. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I simply turned toward the doorway, where my husband Daniel, still in his Navy suit from his afternoon meeting, had been silently watching the whole scene unfold. And in his hand was their boss's business card. He had one hand tucked in his pocket, the other resting on the shoulder of an older man in a tailored charcoal coat. The same man who had signed the offer letter, now lying in shreds on the kitchen floor. The owner of the company. Dad saw them last. His words caught mid-rant and Chase's smirk faltered. Morgan's phone slipped from her hand. The silence that fell was sharp enough to cut glass. The older man stepped forward with a presence that shifted the entire room's air. His sharp, calculating eyes swept over each of them before settling on the torn papers at my feet. "Is this how you treat your daughter's accomplishments?" he asked evenly, his voice calm but carrying an unmistakable authority. No one spoke. Even Mom turned from the sink, nervously drying her hands on a dish towel. I didn't know who you were," Dad stammered. "Oh, I think it's exactly what it looks like," the man replied without raising his voice. I'd never seen my father speechless. This was a man who always had something to say, especially when it came to cutting me down. Daniel stepped to my side, his hand resting gently at my lower back. The steady weight of his touch made me realize I'd been holding my breath. He leaned in, speaking just loud enough for everyone to hear. "I told you, you won't have to fight them alone anymore." The man in the coat extended his hand to me. "Rachel, I'm Stephen Cole, founder and chairman of Cole & Hawthorne Strategies. Your work didn't just stand out, it redefined our benchmarks. That offer letter, ripped or not, was only the beginning." My brows furrowed. "The beginning?" Stephen smiled. "Daniel showed me your analytics reports, your freelance portfolio, your project frameworks. It's rare to see this level of insight. The job was already yours. But after our conversation this afternoon, I realized we'd been aiming too low. I want you leading one of our new expansion divisions in Chicago. If you're willing." My voice caught. "Yes, absolutely." Chase took a step closer, his tone suddenly honey-sweet. "Wow, Rachel, that's incredible. Maybe you could, put in a word for me?" I turned to him slowly, my words measured. "Put in a word? You just said I only got the job out of pity." And this time, it was my smirk that lingered. Chase's lips twitched, caught in the act of his own lies. Stephen's eyes narrowed sharply. "I don't think we'll be needing any more James family recommendation." Dad swallowed hard, his face draining of color. His voice dropped to a whisper. Rachel, we were just trying to push you to be stronger, that's all. I didn't mean to, he faltered. I didn't mean to realize you never did, I interrupted calmly. I bent down, picked up the shredded pieces of the offer letter, and handed them to Daniel. He smiled gently, folding the fragments carefully before slipping them into his coat pocket. Souvenir, he said softly, for the day you left their limits behind. No one spoke as we walked to the front door. The autumn air outside was crisp and sharp, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I exhaled. But inside my chest, something else was stirring. Not just relief, resolve. This wasn't just about a job. It was about reclaiming my voice, and I was only just beginning. I didn't return to that house for weeks, not a single call, but the messages started soon enough. First, text from Mom. Come by sometime. Your dad didn't mean it. Then voicemails from Chase. Can we talk? I think we got off on the wrong foot. Even Jason, my brother who never once defended me, sent a cryptic text. You should know what they're planning. I ignored them all, until one evening Daniel handed me his phone. Rachel, he said carefully, you need to hear this. It was a recorded call Jason had secretly sent. Dad's voice crackled through the speaker, bitter and venomous. She embarrassed me in front of everyone, my own daughter, acting like she's better than us. And with that husband of hers, that smug little punk pulling strings with Whitman, I don't care what offer she got, I'm cutting her off. No inheritance, no contact. Then Chase's voice. Dad, calm down. We can still fix this. Let me apply to Whitman too. Maybe if I say, Rachel referred me. You think she'll help you after how you treated her? She's got her own agenda now. Maybe we flip the story. Say she lied about the job, about Daniel, spread a little doubt. People always believe the loudest voice first. Silence, then cruel laughter. My blood ran cold. This was no longer just resentment. If you're as shocked as I was by what happens next and want to see how I faced their betrayal head-on, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter of this journey. Trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. They wanted to ruin me. I stood up from the couch, stunned. Lie about me? Daniel's jaw clenched beside me. They still might, he said quietly, but they won't get far. I've already contacted HR. Your name and files are locked down from any internal referrals or gossip. My stomach churned. All my life, I'd believed that hard work and proof of worth would eventually earn their respect. Now I saw the truth. This wasn't just a toxic family. It was a war zone. And they'd drawn first blood. A week later, Stefan Cole invited Daniel and me to a dinner party with senior executives. An elegant affair in downtown Dallas, filled with some of the most influential business leaders I'd ever met. I wore a sleek midnight dress, and Daniel was in a perfectly tailored black suit. The moment we walked in, heads turned, because I wasn't just Dad's daughter anymore. I was someone these people wanted to know. The evening felt surreal. Conversations buzzed about international expansions, innovation boards, upcoming IPOs, and in the middle of it all, me. At one point, Stephen pulled me aside. I want you to know, he said softly, people like your family, they don't get to define you. You've earned everything coming your way, and this is only the beginning. I nodded, fighting back the sting in my eyes. Later, as Daniel and I drove home, a car was parked across the street. Jason, I whispered, stepping out before Daniel could stop me. Jason rolled down the window, motioning me over. I had to warn you, he said low. Dad's trying to file something against Daniel. Some bogus complaint about manipulation or insider influence, saying Daniel pressured Stephen to hire you. I clenched my jaw. Is he serious? Jason looked tired, maybe even regretful, for the first time. He's angry, thinks you humiliated him. It's personal now. I stood silent a moment, then said, he made it personal the second he tore that letter. Jason leaned back, sighing. I never said this before, but you didn't deserve any of it. I gave a small, dry smile. You all let it happen. Then I turned and walked away. Because I wasn't just going to survive this, I was going to win. 3 weeks later, an envelope arrived at our door. Thick, official, sealed with the Cole and Hawthorne crest. Inside wasn't a promotion notice or routine paperwork. It was evidence. A printed transcript, attached emails, proof that my father had contacted not only HR, but 2 board members. He'd fabricated a story that Daniel had bribed Stephen Cole, that I'd lied on my resume, that my marriage was a sham, a calculated move for career gain. It was so outrageous, so painfully desperate it should have made me laugh. But it didn't. It made me furious. Daniel watched me as I flipped through the pages, my hands trembling, my chest rising and falling with every breath. They really did it, whispered. They really tried to destroy me. Stephen had already seen it. It included a personal note. Thought you should be aware of what's being said behind your back. None of it holds any weight with us, but you deserve to know. Let me know how you want to proceed. Daniel sat down across from me. We could pursue legal action, defamation, false claims to a corporation. It's serious. I shook my head. No, that's what they want. They want to drag us into a war. Bring us down to their level. He waited, watching me carefully. Then, what do you want? I looked down at the last page, an attached list of donations made in my father's name to Cole and Hawthorne's charitable foundation, small recurring gifts from years ago, likely attempts to buy favor or curry attention. I smiled, a cold, calculated smile. I want to do this the way they never expect it. Daniel raised an eyebrow. With what then? I looked up at him. At the next Cole board meeting, Stephen made a special announcement. A new team was being formed, the Innovation and Ethics Committee. I was named founding chair. It meant oversight, internal audits, access to every document, every backdoor channel. My father once thought he could abuse his influence. The irony was delicious. Meanwhile, word leaked that someone from my family had tried to sabotage my career. The business community responded exactly as you'd expect. Doors closed to him, sponsorships dried up, invitations stopped coming. Suddenly, the Lhasa name wasn't respected anymore. It had become a warning sign. I said nothing. Made no scenes, but they felt it, every day, in every room I wasn't invited to. Until one evening, I got a call from Mom. Her voice was frail, shaken. Your father isn't doing well, she said quietly. He's not sleeping. He lost the bid on the city infrastructure project. Chase still hasn't found a new job. We're struggling. I stayed silent. Then she added, even asked if you'd be willing to talk. Just once. I sat for a long time, staring out at the Dallas skyline from my apartment window. This was the man who told me I didn't belong in his family. Now he wanted a conversation. I took a breath. Tell him I'll meet him. Daniel looked across the room, concern in his eyes. Are you sure? No, I admitted. But I'm not doing it for him. I'm doing it for me. Because forgiveness wasn't forgetting. It was freeing yourself from the weight they tried to bury you under. I agreed to meet Dad at the old diner off Main Street, the same place he took us for pancakes when we were kids. The diner hadn't changed, same cracked leather booths, same flickering neon sign. But I had changed. I walked in wearing a slate gray power suit, hair tied neatly back, heels clicking on the linoleum floor. My presence wasn't loud, but it commanded silence. He was seated in the corner, smaller than I remembered. A man once too proud to bend, now hunched over a chipped mug of black coffee. His eyes were fixed on the table, as if searching for answers he'd lost. He looked up when I approached, and for the first time, I saw something unfamiliar in my father's eyes. Shame. Rachel, he said, voice barely above a whisper. Thanks for coming. I sat slowly, crossing my legs and meeting his gaze without flinching. I'm not here to make peace, Dad. I'm here to listen. You wanted to talk, so talk. He flinched, the weight of his pride, once armor, crumbling. He rubbed his hands nervously. I know I messed up, he said. I messed up bad. With you. With everything. He paused, swallowing hard. I didn't think you'd become what you've become, my father said quietly, his voice heavy with regret. You were always stubborn. I thought I had to beat the softness out of you. I leaned in, voice low and firm. What you called softness was ambition, discipline, and self-respect. He said nothing. No argument, no denial, no excuses. Just silence, louder than any apology. Slowly, he reached into his coat and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. I recognized it immediately. My original offer letter, not the one he tore apart. He must have kept a copy. I tried to tape it back together, he muttered. I didn't know what else to do. I wanted something to remind me how wrong I was. I stared at it, not with anger, not with pity, but with clarity. You didn't believe in me, I said. Not when I applied to college. Not when I worked late shifts and studied all night. Not when I showed you that business plan. You saw Chase's comfort as strength and my drive as rebellion. He winced. I was afraid. Afraid that if you lost me, you'd never get me back. Maybe I wouldn't have, I said coldly, if it weren't for Daniel Stephen and the people who saw me for who I really am, not who they wanted me to see. He fell silent again. Rachel, he said after a long pause, I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know I'm proud. And if you ever need anything. I stood, cutting him off. That's the difference between us. You only offer support when it benefits you. I don't need anything from you, not anymore. He looked up, eyes damp but proud enough not to shed a tear. Before I turned to leave, I reached into my purse and placed something on the table. A photo from my first day at Cole & Hawthorne HQ. Me, standing confidently in front of the company sign, smiling, powerful, unapologetically me. Frame it, I said. Maybe someday when people ask what happened to your daughter, you can tell them she became something no one expected. Then I walked out. Months passed. I led Cole & Hawthorne's expansion into 3 cities and made Forbes's emerging leaders list. Chase still bounced between jobs. Jason distanced himself quietly from Dad. Mom texted occasionally but kept her distance. Dad never reached out again, but a friend told me he kept that photo on his desk. Funny, isn't it? The daughter he tore down became the only legacy he had left to display. One evening, Daniel and I stood on our apartment balcony overlooking the Dallas skyline, the same city I once thought would never open its doors to me. You okay? He asked, wrapping his arm around my waist. I smiled. I think I finally am, because sometimes your real family isn't the one you're born into. It's the one that sees you, believes in you, and stands beside you when your own blood tries to cut you down. I didn't just survive. I rose, and no one will ever tear me down again. If this story moved you, please subscribe and share your thoughts below. Your support means everything as I continue to share my journey. Remember, no matter how tough your path, hold on to your ambition and self-respect. They're your greatest power. Together, we rise above those who doubt us.